Hey, what's good? Eric Jones went to Yale University, then he moved out to Northern California and helped build a business that helped other businesses grow in healthcare, education, and financial inclusion. Now he lives in Napa and he's running to be the U.S. representative for California's 4th District. This is my conversation with the grassroots candidates for California's 4th District, Eric Jones. Before we get into it, remember to go to coconutjustice.com to get you some clothes that I think would look good on you. Let's go. Hey everybody, as promised, Eric Jones running for California 4.
Hey guys.
It's nice to meet you, man. How you doing?
Every day in California, I wake up and I'm like, this place is great. It rained today, which is a good thing. So a little bit, which if we could have rain and sunshine all the time at the same time, then I'd be happy. I mean, everything going on in the world, it's complicated, but it's a day in California, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was talking to a group of guys. As a matter of fact, I recorded a few days ago with 3 guys running for office in Connecticut. And they were talking about, oh, Connecticut and Connecticut. I was like, you can keep it. I live in California. Like, they were talking about going to No Kings and it was 35 degrees. I said, not here. It was in the mid 70s, close to 80, sunshine out. I couldn't do anything but protest.
It's, it's good protesting weather. It does make you soft though. I would say when you head back east and you hit some real temperatures. I spent a little bit of time in Minneapolis recently during the
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, man, I forgot what negative 15 feels like. It, it is.
And Minneapolis, I'm originally from Chicago, so I grew up in it,
Oh, you
but
know.
Minneapolis is different. They make tunnels that you can walk from building to building. But they're like on the second floor. In Chicago, especially downtown, we have all these tunnels underground where it makes way more sense. But out there in Minneapolis, it's different. What were you out there for? Were you out there for protests and stuff?
I went with Congressman Ro Khanna to see it for myself. This was a few days after Alex Preddy was killed
Yeah.
because I had to. I say that as there's only so much reality you can see through a screen,
Yeah.
and particularly in this moment when I think there's a lot of information flying in all these different directions, and I wanted to see the thing that everyone was talking about and whether it was as bad or is not as bad or and it was terrible
Yeah.
and it was shocking and opened my eyes, but it also talking to the Minnesotans who are like the hardiest people. They're like this like combination of like kind and soft spoken, but like super like just like durable.
Yeah.
And
They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
and and the thing I heard most often was, "Hey, we just want more support." Like we hear it online, and we're getting good support from different groups across the country, but where's the support from our political leaders? Like,
Yeah.
no one's been here to visit,
Yeah.
and that was crazy to me because it's the topic. It was the topic of every conversation in DC and in living rooms, and our electeds hadn't gone and like seen the reality on the ground. So to me, that was eye opening. That the farther you get from reality, the harder it is to actually care about people and do things on behalf of people. So
Yeah. Especially something like that where you're making people straight up disappear.
yeah,
And I always try to point out to people when we do this in the Middle East, for example, and we get someone's family member or something, we mobilize them against us. So if we're taking a community that looks like me and we're mistreating them like that, and then sometimes people like me get caught up in the net and you don't care, how are we supposed to tap back into this?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's weird.
violence of all kinds tends to encourage more violence.
Yeah.
And look, I grew up in a military household with a father who suffered terribly from PTSD, but other injuries as well as other injuries from war. And it's funny because he knows this. Like he knows that bringing violence to other nations or bringing violence at home, you create more haters of our own country.
You beget more violence. Yeah.
Yeah, and you make a good point too. But we're gonna have, because there's so much healing that we're gonna have to do as a country once we've got through this and resolve this. Because you're right, like we've terrified these communities in our own country, our communities, and we're fighting to make it stop. And then once it stops, it's not just, the ramifications will still be there.
Yeah.
And we'll have to deal with those too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I just think, our politics have shifted in America, but I think there's becoming a new left-right alignment that we want the American dream. We want economic opportunity. We want peace. We don't want war at home. And that's, I think, younger people particularly, they're fed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I'm older than you. And I look at you and the younger generations that are coming up that have leveraged the knowledge that comes with being on social media and the internet and all that stuff. And I love that you guys are taking the reins. I love that you guys are saying, this is not how we want to operate. We can do things better. And I love that you guys are running for office so you could make meaningful change instead of us. Like my generation, we were smacked in the mouth and told to sit down. Right? So, so number one, before I forget, thank your father for his service and his sacrifices, both mentally and physically. I tried to explain to people, even though I didn't see war, I was definitely on lockdown when Desert Shield and Desert Storm happened. And even that, that makes you a little touchy. I can only imagine actually being out there and having to deal with probably some of the stuff that your dad had to. And again, even if we want to make the world a better place, soldiering doesn't help.
Yeah.
It just continues to amplify the problem.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get new folks in office who share those same feelings.
Yeah. Did you grow up in California?
I grew up in a small town in Maine. So
Maine.
Cold, small town, kind of.
You might be the only person I've ever met from Maine.
Yeah, I get that a bit. It's a big state, like geographically, not that many people, and it's a it's an interesting place. I will say, what people don't quite realize is it's kind of like Northern Appalachia. I mean, the mountains keep going, actually, and also from a cultural perspective, there were a bunch of like longstanding union jobs around shipbuilding, around timber, and those all went away. Mm-hmm. the whole state transitioned really to a service economy of tourism, where people visit 4 to 5 months a year in season, and everyone kind of refactors their life around serving that vacation community, and then in the winter figures out other things to do. But I say that because that a version of that has been felt in so many communities across America, and I felt that in my community growing up. Right, the jobs and the pathways that people used to have not being there anymore. And then during COVID, what was interesting is it then became everyone who had second homes decided they wanted to make those their first homes, and the more people moved there and kicked out all the locals, and housing prices doubled. So it's been this like two-step process of disenfranchisement where it's like, hey, so you took away our jobs and now you're taking away our homes. And on top of that, I believe we need to build housing in this country. It's so important. And on top of that, the Democratic Party in power over there was basically ended up being like anti-housing and didn't build any housing, which is crazy because Maine's like 90% trees. There's a lot of places to build housing. Growing up, all my friends and families, you built your own homes, basically.
Yeah.
So to put a moratorium on that, basically, it was ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. And people are like, wait, so now we can't even afford to live in our own state? It's really wild. And look, different versions of that have been felt all across America over the past several decades, right? And both parties, well, I'll speak to my own party. I think the Democratic Party did a poor job of meeting people where they are and just listening and asking questions and understanding, like, hey, like these communities are different. Like my way of, like the way I saw myself and my family and it's all changed. And what I see for my future for my kids is all changed. And no one's recognizing that. And I think that not talking to people where they, like not actually meeting working class and young people where they are in this country has been a big failure of our party.
Yeah, that goes for both parties. I feel comfortable chastising both parties. Yeah. I've voted for both parties in the past. I'm not, I'm politically ambiguous because I want what's best for the country, and I know sometimes it's a mix. But I think both parties have been basically hijacked by people who write big checks. I found out talking to a lot of you guys, and Eric Jones, you guys, he's a grassroots candidate. He's a up and comer, all this stuff, right? So when I talk to the grassroots candidates, I get all of the frustrations and all of the feelings about the establishment and how hard it is. Even though you fly the Democratic banner or the Democrat banner, you still, if you don't have that name recognition, if you don't have the big checks, if you don't have all this stuff going for you, it's difficult. So yeah, both parties are ruining it because of these checks that get in the way of their vision.
It's amazing how often the old adage, follow the money, can be reused. It's always true. It never fails. Yeah. And again, here to your point, people think about incumbency, right? And the biggest thing they think about is name ID. The incumbent's got name ID. But it's not just that. It's millions of dollars of guaranteed campaign financing
and hookups to like phone banks and hookups to
all the resource activation, all the mobilization.
Yeah.
But basically, if you want to be a party aligned, politician and take in all that corporate PAC money and all that special interest money, you can take it. They'll give it to you. And then you've got a name advantage, you've got money advantage. And the critical thing is you're not talking to real people to raise that money. You're talking to the lobbyist, right? So you're not even getting you're not even doing the job of talking to your constituents or raising money from your constituents. Your campaign is being funded by special interest. And then you get to utilize, to your point, the apparatus, right? The endorsements, the mobilization. So you're kind of fighting as an outsider, as an anti-establishment candidate. You're fighting those three things. And I think historically that lift has been really, really hard, almost impossible.
Yeah.
But in this moment where everyone wants change and everyone recognizes that the establishment of both parties has not delivered, and that money in politics and the checks that you're talking about have warped everything, that people are now more open-minded and realizing, oh, wait, maybe the endorsements and the money and the name, maybe that's all part of the problem. And actually, we should be looking at newer candidates and doing, honestly, what the work you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Because yeah, we need to get the word out. You know, I talk to literally everyone, from homeless people to MAGA to everybody. I don't care. But everyone is very consistent in something needs to change. What we're doing is wrong, and all the politicians are on the take. So I love that I get to talk to you guys, and then I get to go to that homeless person. I get to go to that MAGA member and say, there is a different way to do it. You just have to get your lips off his ass so we can so we can get to work.
You could, yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. And so I've been doing a lot of door knocking, which is, I think, a lost art. My opponent is an incumbent Democrat who is, well, I have many opponents. In our race, there are 6 Republicans, an MPP, an incumbent Democrat, and a
What's MPP stand for?
Non-party preference, I believe.
Okay.
So basically, I didn't choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Independent, I guess.
Okay.
But,
That makes
but
sense.
they're conservative leaning. So there's 7 kind of Republicans, me as the outsider Democrat, and then the incumbent. And he's been in politics for over 50 years. He's been in this seat for almost 30, and he's not knocking doors, right?
Yeah.
He's not making phone calls to real people to do grassroots fundraising, right? He's not mobilizing that way or organizing that way. And I think when you stop doing that, you miss the real message, right? Like when you knock on a door and someone, either through their little keyhole or ring camera, they make a determination, right? They're like looking at you, their dog's barking. They're like, what am I wearing? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, are the lights on? Like, am I carrying a cup of coffee? Like, what's going on? Like, what was I watching? Is the TV still on? Like, right? They have to pause their world and then choose to go into it.
To do something as wonderful as talking politics.
Right? Exactly. So they're so, they're so jacked.
Just watching Wheel of Fortune. What are you
Correct,
doing?
right? Yeah. Watching Emeril Lagasse here. No, throw that. But then when you talk to them, because of that context, they're so open, and you get the depth of what they're feeling. And the thing is, they're talking about healthcare. They're talking about, hey, why is my local school closing? I have like a 3-year-old, and I'm thinking about where they're going to school when they're 5, and put aside childcare, and I can't get childcare, but now the school down the block is closing because school closures. They're talking about, how have my utility rates gone up 100% in the past 4 or 5 years? What's going on, right?
And let's jump back to real quick. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No.
Going back to the school thing. Even if they close that school, they're going to say, oh, you can send them to that school. Yeah, but I don't want my kid to be in a classroom with 30 other kids. The quality of education is going to be messed up.
And potentially another 30 minutes away, right? When you get into
and gas is like $100 a tank.
And there's no buses, right? Totally, right? And to me, we have this. It's a massive problem in California, and what frustrates me is no one's talking about it, but we all know it's going to happen because we know how many eighth graders there's going to be because we know how many young kids there are today. So we can look a decade forward and look at
Because last year we had this many seventh graders.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things we actually predict pretty well. Yeah, people will move into the state and move out, but like you got a pretty good sense. And if you look at it based on based on state models, we're going to have to shut like 25% of the schools. And
wow.
And that's not a good thing. Like it may be a necessary thing, but it's not a good thing. And how do we interrupt that process and stop that so that schools can stay open, that kids can stay in their communities? Because what I've seen is we need kids, particularly in elementary and younger grades, they need to be safe. Mm-hmm. They need to learn to read, and they need to be in the classroom. They need to be going to school every day, developing the habit as a young person that school is a permanent part of your life. It's not a choice. Yeah. Right? It's not, and it's hard because often these kids have to work as well. So if you're pulling these schools farther and farther from families, and now you're getting pressure, maybe it's a farm worker family, right? Now you're getting pressure from the family, like, you're really going to travel like 45 minutes to get to school, right? Like it really is this. And I wish it was talked about more because it's really sad.
And let's talk about it a little more, because what happens is they're cutting funding to schools, they're closing down schools, the quality of education goes down, and then you're sending us out into the workforce to compete against the best of the world and all this other stuff, right? But yet you didn't prepare United States children to be competitive in this world. And then you're going to have a dum-dum like Elon Musk who comes up and says, you're dumb and you're lazy.
I'm smiling because you're funny. Unfortunately, humor is often when you like highlight the thing that everyone knows, but you say it in a surprising way, right? It's like, you like really like, you nail reality. You're like, oh yeah, he's right. but humor softens it.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, and I think like if we're not if we're not having the conversation, we're not going to fix the problems. If we're still have our head in the sand, pretending everything's okay, we're not even going to fix the problems. And to me, again, like the normal political posture right now across both parties is like, stay out of trouble, don't do much, don't try to fix things, and frankly, do as much do as much fighting against the other side, like create so much animosity that's our focus. And our focus should be on keeping kids in school and keeping the schools open. Because the reality is, like, I talk so much about the American dream because I feel like I've lived it. Like I was a welfare kid, teenage mom, disabled veteran father, went to college, a full scholarship, first generation college graduate. Like I had all those things. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm. It's funny. Like I'm proud of that because.
Of course, you should be.
Look, and I will say, the different. Like I am a. The story I just told you is I'm a white guy. Surprise. Now, I say that because what's different about my story is I did have to do those things. I did have to work hard. I did have to struggle. I did have to get myself, into a good position academically to really, succeed. I had my mom. I had my community. I had a church. Like I had people who helped. I did have to take care of my dad. That was that was hard. But I know that because once I got to college and things started working for me, then I had all the benefits of like looking like I am and being a big, I'm 6'3", I'm and there are a lot of people who have my story who are not white and they carry those challenges for their entire life. Yeah. Like even after they go to college, like they're still fighting against a perception, or they're still fighting to get access to the things they need to succeed in their careers or for their families. And I was lucky that once I made that step, now I'm like playing in an open field. And I say that to people because I want to make sure people know that I appreciate that like it's a reality that I get this benefit that other people don't have. I get this privilege. But I care so much about this because I don't know how you can have the American dream if you don't have great public education in America. That's the whole, it is, it's the pillar, it's the fundamental pillar. And what I see is a world where kids who grew up like me all across the country are having less and less opportunity to do what I did and go to college, build a business, be an entrepreneur, and now serve my country. And the fact that, again, we're not talking about it every day is, I think, the issue. Like, I want to focus on how do we create a better future for kids in our country, and how do we do that? We have to focus on education, healthcare. We have to focus on these core kind of blocks of the American dream, right? Like, how do we get people housing? How do we build more housing? like so basic when I say it. But education, to your point, is the foundation. And then it's been real complicated because we got so much stuff on the horizon that's going to create a whole new world. And we better have an education system which can adapt to that so that kids are ready, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been saying this. Before we started recording, I told you I'm from Chicago, went down to LA, came up here, blah, blah, blah. I was working in Silicon Valley, and then I got laid off. And then, you go through your little, what the hell just happened portion of the life of the timeline. Started doing research, and then there was a lot of people, a lot of Americans that were talking about this H-1B visa thing and how we don't compare with H-1B visa people because they're smarter than us. But then we have a president that is taking money out of education, and we're closing schools and doing all this stuff. So how can we possibly expect our kids who are with shit schools, not all of them are shitty, I understand, but the education system is challenged, and then you hit us with H-1B visas, and you hit us with all these excuses as to why we're not going to invest in our people. Why is it so difficult to tell the old guard that this is a dumb way of doing things?
Yeah. Yeah. Why is it so hard? Sorry, I'm struggling because I'm going to say the same thing we said before. It really is. It's follow the money, right? Like, corporations, the largest corporations in America would rather import labor, right?
Yeah.
And make more profit.
Keep their money.
And pass it to shareholders, then or put it in the CO compensation package, more likely, right? Then they would actually create an educated, vibrant workforce. And this is the sort of the unbundling is like, corporations do not think about communities. They think about profit. To expect anything else of them is unrealistic. That is how they are set up. That is what the boards do. Yes, they have to follow the law, and they have governance and regulatory frameworks. By the way, the regulation itself is often the thing that's bad for people because it keeps competition and stops small businesses from growing and thriving, right? But I say that because we have this weird expectation that they're going to do good, but they're not. They're not. Like, we have to constrain them. We have to invest in education so that the corporations don't take advantage of our citizens. We can't rely on the corporations to do the right thing for our communities. And I tell people all the time, like, when you're a corporation and you can make a choice between a computer and a person, right? You can invest in the computer to do the thing or the person to do the thing. I always pick the person because the person has a story. The person has a family. Like, the person could become Mozart, right? The person could become, they could have a kid who could cure all these cancers, right? There's just, and that person becomes a figure in their community, in their home, in their family, and they contribute. A computer's a computer.
Yeah.
But today we actually do a lot to make it hard to help the person and easier to buy the computer. And we can go into payroll taxes and how we do like all the different requirements for onboarding employees in California. All I'm saying is it's all back to the same idea, which is that corporations are focused on corporate profit.
Yeah.
And therefore we need a government which balances that.
Yeah.
That's why we have democracy. Democracy is a balance against capitalism. And what we have now is our democracy has been bought by the corporations. Yeah. So that they're not looking out for us, the communities. So now you just have an entire system designed to benefit corporations, which means you have a system designed to produce profit, not to think about people. And it's all gotten worse since Citizens United was ruled. It's like gotten exponentially worse. It was developing for a few decades. It wasn't an issue in the 60s or 70s, right? But it became an issue, and then it sort of skyrocketed with Citizens United. And I can't say this enough. Like all these problems come back to when you see a problem that government hasn't fixed or isn't trying to fix, follow the money, and there's probably a reason why that's happening, or something is or isn't happening, right? And it's probably because some special interest group has accumulated too much power, and they've said no. And that's the core. That we have to address that first. And if we do that, I think actually Americans, we can kind of. I trust Americans. I trust us to figure it out when the system is uncorrupted. Like, give us a chance, right? To kind of give us a chance, but we need a clean. We need a playing field that's fair and as designed, not how it is today.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes I need to like.
Oh no, dude.
Let the information go in and like find its file.
You know, have you ever read the book Moonwalking with Einstein?
Moonwalking with Einstein? No.
Well, this will be a nice shout out for folks. Excuse me if I don't summarize it or describe it perfectly, but this reporter got into this kind of interesting community of people who had extremely good memories, like could memorize like the order of like decks of cards, right? Like or X amount numbers of pi, or just like incredible things, right? And what he learned that there's techniques, and it's funny you say filing because actually that's one of the techniques. You create an image of an actual infrastructure in your head, which could be a house, and you could go into a room, open a filing cabinet, and put a memory there. And that's how they memorize so many things. They create an actual physical, image in their brain.
Yeah.
They store things. And he ended up being,
cool.
after a couple of years, I think he was like one of like the top performers in these challenges. But the things you can remember are incredible. So anyway, it gave me like it's cool to read those books. Like, wow, the human brain, the human brain. We're do some cool stuff when we're given the chance. So anyway, you were reminded of that book. It's a good book. Everyone should read it.
Awesome. I just wrote it down. Talking to you guys, I think I'm batting 1,000. Like all of you guys are so smart. I haven't yet bumped into a person that I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be wild. But I keep getting these recommendations for these books. I'm halfway flirting with starting a book club, and just whenever I talk to you guys, put that book on the list and then go through the list.
I like that.
I love talking to smart people.
Oh, don't.
I love talking to smart people.
Smartest person I know is my mother.
Shout out mom. What's mom do?
Mom did a bunch of everything to make it work, waitressing, etc. And then later actually went back and went for the first time and got her associate's degree to be a nurse. Nice. So she feels she really believes that like she's been put on this planet by God to take care of people, my father included. But she's an incredible person.
Yeah.
It's funny to say that excuse me, but I'm like honored to be, you know, my mom, like to be part of like my mom's lineage, just given how much
Yeah.
who she is. And how proud I am of her.
And I'm assuming she's very supportive of you and everything that you've done.
Oh yeah, I don't think she really she understands what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Before I was working in healthcare and creating different types of healthcare companies and doing a bunch of nonprofit work, and I think she understood that less. But now I'm actually moved her out here for the campaign, so she's both doing a great job being a grandma because my wife and I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks, man. So she's like, her name's Jan. She goes by Grandma Jamma, like Grandma Jamma. And our son Owen just adores her, and so that's been awesome. And also, I don't think she ever thought she'd be able to live in a place. I live in Napa. It's really, I'm really fortunate.
Napa's
And
beautiful.
it's awesome, and I don't think she ever thought that she would live in a place like this. So it's been really cool. My brother moved out here as well. He lived in Davis. He was in the Navy. My wife's family is actually from here. Her
Yeah.
grandma went to Davis, brought her horse to college back when you could do that. Right?
Hey, I could take you down. I can take you down to Norco. That's down by Riverside. Down
Yeah.
they it's what is it, the cowboy capital of the United States, or house or horse capital, whatever. I'd be taking my nieces and nephew to school, and there's like a family of horses, and they're taking their kids to school on the horse.
Love that. That's cool. I mean, yeah, we forget there's like, yeah, we've got some real cowboys left.
We do.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about, you said
Anyway, shout out
you said
Gamma Janma. Shout
grandma,
out
grandma, grandma.
Gamma.
I like that. I'll say, like, look, like, my wife and I both, my wife's an architect. We're like two working parents. We're really in it. We could not do this without my mom. So
Yeah,
shout out to moms everywhere. Shout out to grandmas everywhere.
for real.
And but also to your point, people are damn smart, and that's another thing that the door knocking has revealed. There's a lot of awareness that I'm very impressed. And I don't mean that in because we hear a lot, everyone just watches Fox News these days. Like, no one reads, like, journalism's dead, all fake news. Like, you hear, like, if you took that in, you'd be like, oh my God, every person must just be a addle brained, like they can't, see which way is left or right. But no, people are with it, and they have concern, and their people's perspectives are really sharp today.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Like, they know this moment is important, and they know that things aren't right. So anyway, point being that, like, I just love talking to people, man. And intelligences are all different types of things. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And even the ones that listen to Fox News and stuff like that, there's a lot of times they'll be, maybe they forget that I'm a little toasty, and they start sharing with me some of the things that they've watched on the news and stuff. And when I remind them that I am toasted, and that I have been stopped by cops, I have been pulled out of the car, I have been pulled over for making the left into the wrong neighborhood, all those things. Generally speaking, up here, they accept that information and they process it, and then for the most part, they're just like, that sucks. And then they try to remember me when they're watching the news and they're listening to the dumb shit.
And again, the dumb shit is both sides, right? Or I don't want to say sides. Dumb shit's everywhere, right?
Right.
There's also, and what you just said is so it's so powerful, because you've permanently changed their points of view.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also, that's like good old fashioned political persuasion. I know it's you, and it's of your personal story, but when we show real people in real situations who live the realities of our politics, then people, I find, have a ton of compassion. But you kind of have to make it real.
Mm-hmm.
And for like, I do I talk a lot about the healthcare cuts, and we talk about them, but then you characterize the situation for someone, and you make it real. And and to your point, I mean, we could have ice again. I mean, same situation. When you just show people a little bit of humanity, they really, I find they pick it up, and they really listen.
Yeah. And that's why people in Florida think we're a bunch of pussies, because we do take that information and we do say, we can do this better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not understanding Florida, don't get it twisted. We do have some hillbillies with guns out here, boy. You better watch out.
Feedback on Florida. Yeah. There's good people everywhere, man. Florida does have Florida produces some wild ones.
Yeah. You said that you were building healthcare companies, healthcare related companies. Florida's answer is Rick Scott.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know.
And if you don't know, you guys, Rick Scott got busted. He's a senator, I think now. He got busted for the largest healthcare scam in United States history, and he's still serving in Congress. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to do to lose your seat these days, right? I mean,
that is the
George Santos out, right? Okay, so that's one example. But
the brown kid.
There's
But that's just it. Like he's a brown kid. He got kicked out because he's weird. He's a liar and all that stuff. I know that it's way more.
No, but you're right. If he was, you're right. You're right. But
the other one was the little Cuban dude, or was he Puerto Rican with all the gold bars?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, what are you doing? You're Puerto Rican. You can turn that into a necklace. You'll be fine.
The bar for what is what gets you off the boat, off the Titanic, I guess Titanic, it's a bad metaphor. I guess because it's sinking. But yeah, I because of my family history and my father, and he had a 90s veteran in pain. Every time he went to a doctor, he got prescribed more pills, and was Vicodin, Oxy, right? So that journey, I lived that journey with him. And eventually we got him to a place in Florida, funnily enough, at the Mayo Clinic. We moved him down there. My brother was stationed there in the Navy. And finally got good care late in life, got off a bunch of stuff. And it revealed to me who my father was. Like I met him basically as a 20-year-old. And a lot of my growing up was taking care of him. I say all that because I've seen a lot of our healthcare system in different ways. And I've wanted to help. So a lot of the work I've done is around mental health, women's health, and getting more care into rural areas, because not to bring up the school thing again, but we have a similar issue with hospitals in rural parts of the country, and we have aging communities that still need health care.
Yeah.
And one of the big ideas that I'm running on is Medicare expansion and bringing healthcare into people's homes. We now have the technology to do it. It's cheaper. It's better because people get to stay in their communities. They get a lot of more social interaction, and you want to keep people out of these very expensive hospitalized environments, and sort of kind of unbundle all the different stuff that happens in a hospital. And this has all been tested and shows actually if you give people nursing care in their home starting at age 65 and you graduate it, you're not full time day one, but you have that option that you actually save money all in. You spend long term because you spend less money in a hospital and they're very expensive. And again, all the happiness factors are huge. So a lot of the work I did was around kind of readapting that care model to get people taken care of in home, and also different prophylactic interventions around dental care, hearing, and vision. Because,
Okay.
I mean, if you talk about quality of life, those three things are so important. And most people don't know this, I think, unless you're on Medicare. But Medicare doesn't cover those things. So if you're going blind from cataracts, which is a super simple surgery,
Yeah.
and you're on Medicare, doesn't pay for it. If you can't afford it, you will just go blind.
Oh my God.
Hearing aids. Medicare doesn't cover hearing aids. And now we're looking at all the links between hearing loss and early onset dementia and Parkinson's. Giving someone a hearing aid can change their life. And they're so expensive now. They're thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Dental care. They've now shown all the links between dental care and heart disease, but also like people need to eat and your teeth, right? And so I focus a lot on these areas of healthcare where you can actually intervene and give people more and makes them happier and healthier, and you can save money because you don't go blind or get heart disease or get early onset dementia, right? You don't, and that to me is a lot of the framing of healthcare in this country is how do we actually do more such that we can be healthier long term and actually save money. And there are some really interesting ways that you can. I think those specific areas are areas where I found like super super high value.
Yeah.
And in particularly again in rural communities where they just don't have a lot of these things, have a lot of access.
Yeah. I've been watching The Pit. If you haven't watched that show,
I'm a like
Yeah.
I'm one of those annoying guys who like I read a book and also watch half the show, right? And
Yeah.
and I'm like 4 episodes in, I'm like, hey, babe, like what? And I what's going on? She's like, come on, man. Like she, like yeah, but I'm kind of like,
I'm reading a book. I'm trying to be smart.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what's funny? I realize yeah, it's ADHD. Like I'm doing two things at once, and that is like my captivated. That's like my normal mode.
Yeah.
Like talking to people is great because you're doing one thing. It's amazing. It really calms me down. Actually, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, with her, and so she's watching The Pit anyway. Great show. Seemingly, I watched half of it.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
idea what's going on.
The other half is really good too. And one of this is not any kind of no, it's not any kind of spoiler alert. They're leveraging AI to help run the ER room.
Oh, interesting.
And since that's the elephant in the room, and it seems to be somewhat divisive because you have one part of our citizens that are excited about it, but then you have the other part that are very afraid of it. Do you have any exposure to, well, you live up here and, we kind of have technology people floating around everywhere.
Yeah.
Have you been exposed to AI folks? Have you seen any data centers going in? Why the trepidation, and why in your eyes, why are people nervous? And then if you are for leveraging AI, why should people relax when it comes to AI?
Yeah. Let me start by saying that AI is a reality. It's here. We have to regulate it. We have to tax it. And we have to work with it. And we also have to win, right? Because other countries are developing technology at significant pace. But the first two things I said about regulation and safety are so critical. And we can't be scared. But I think the reason people are scared is because we haven't described to people pathways of how this could play out, right? We haven't described to people the regulatory frameworks that we're going to use. Look, we have an SEC that monitors financial markets. We have an FEC, which monitors political markets. We have regulatory bodies. We should have a regulatory body akin, just like those two, for AI, 100%, right? We need the watchdogs. We need the police officers in this new world. We need to tax AI today. And here's how we should do it. Like, we have the case study of Amazon, right? Amazon became a $1 trillion company, never paid any tax because they never made paper profit.
Yeah.
Used all the
Too big to
loopholes,
fail.
etc. Yeah, exactly. So we have to, and right. So with AI today, there's so much money flowing in, right? And it goes into one of two areas. There's the training, which is the brain. That's the like, and each, that's the model. And then there's inference. And inference is the product. So when you ask Claude or ChatGPT a question, that's an inference workload. When they're building the thing behind the scenes separately, that's a training workload. I believe we should tax inference. Like we should actually have a tax based on some fundamental law, like energy production. You could actually tax energy loss or energy cost. You could tax environmental impact. You could tax a unit of work. But the point is, you have to start taxing this, and then we got to take that money, and then we got to create job creation pathways for kids today, and retraining for people in their early 20s who, frankly, are graduating with degrees that may no longer be useful, but
We can rip that Band-Aid off.
but they're intelligent, smart, motivated young people. Like we got to help, right? Because the reality is, America has a ton of job creation opportunities. Think about the jobs we need in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Think about all the jobs we need in renewable energy. Like we have to onshore all of our farm manufacturing because we can't be in a situation like COVID where we can't produce our own vaccines. Like that can't be a thing. So that's another huge job creation category. What about the 5 million homes that we have to build a year, right? All our infrastructure. There's so education, right? There's so many opportunities for jobs that AI will not touch. But we need to actively utilize the resources that are going in there and redeploy them. And then the last thing, and that will give people comfort that, hey, yeah, you're right. There's going to be job loss. There will be. And here's what we're going to do. And here's how we're going to, adapt to that new reality. And the third thing is the data center itself, right? Going into your community, creating an environmental impact, all these things. And and the biggest one, utilizing energy resources and raising rates on actual consumers like us. And that to me is ridiculous. Like it's basically more corporate profiteering and stealing directly from consumers to corporations. So what I'm saying is that every new data center build has to have its own energy production and have its own water resourcing. That's all internalized. It's not constantly pulling water. It's all internalized. And there are several data center operators and builders that are already doing this. And across the country, you have mixed kind of situations. Sometimes they're attached to the grid. Sometimes they're independently generated. It should all be independently generated with the cleanest form of available energy. Full stop. So it's not going to impact consumers. It shouldn't impact the environment because they are going to get built. And that's just inevitability. Now we got to make the impact to communities as minimal as possible. They shouldn't be going into communities, except for places where they can create jobs, right? I mean, there are states right now that are asking for data center investment because they create jobs, and they're going to be good jobs. They're going to be high skilled technical jobs, right?
Right.
So there is some good with the bad. So I think kind of the prongs are like we have to make AI safe. We have to think about how we tax it and create job creation pathways. And the actual data centers themselves, we have to make sure they're not impacting communities, not impacting energy production, actually helping with energy production by creating new generation. Like to me, those are the three things. If we explain that to people, like we're going to make it safe. We have to do it, but we're going to make it safe, right? We did this with nuclear energy. We've done this before. Like we're going to make it safe, and we're going to take advantage of it to make sure we create jobs, and we're going to limit the impact. We're going to have no impact on your community. Like you're not going to see one of these things out your window. Like if you can do those three things, I think people will get on board because people get on board with technology once they understand it. I'm also for social media.
Look at our phones.
Look at everything, right? We everything, right? And I don't know if our phones are good for us or not, but we've adapted. And separately from all this, like I think technology usage right now is a big question, and I'm very strongly for a ban on social media for kids under 16. And I think that we have to consider how AI is going to be used in classrooms, both by teachers and kids. I don't have all the answers, but we have to start talking about it. Those three things to me are the concerns and how those concerns can be met if we're talking about it appropriately. And we need people in Congress who actually understand what this is. Like, I wonder how
Say it
many
again for the people in the back.
like how many of our congressionals today, if you showed them a data center and an airport, I don't know if they could tell the difference. I mean, I'm joking, but one
Yeah.
has one doesn't. But like seriously, like it's like, do they know what a GPU is? Like, can they conceptualize what an LLM model, like what it can do, right? Like,
Right.
and what it can't do. Like, this is knowable stuff. This isn't like voodoo. Like it's but I think to them it's almost this voodoo science because they're so far removed from understanding it and the comprehension of it. So, and we just get new people in there, like they'll be much better equipped to solve these problems.
Yeah. Is there a mismatch between what these technology companies are saying is possible compared to what their AIs can actually do or can actually do for people?
So yes, and this is now me speaking as
Yeah.
someone who understands enough technology, and then I'm communicating it the way I kind of see it in my own brain. So I may not be correct, to be clear. I'm one man's opinion.
Yeah.
But I think it is to their benefit to oversell their capability because they, like any company, right? They're trying to bring in more investors and grow more and produce more. So they're like the biggest evangelists are going to be coming from the corporations themselves and probably the loftiest goals. AI is going to do an incredible. If there's a job that is process automation, that's a service, which is a white collar process automation job. Even if the process is really damn complicated, AI can do it, right? And that's a lot of admin. That's a lot of, different, I don't have to go through every category that'll be impacted, but if you think about entry level engineering, which is engineering computer science, right, where you're seeing so much of it today, that is really, really complex, you know, process automation, right? And now, like these different AI agents can operate functionally as junior software coders and do the work of real people. But there's a limit to that with the current architecture and the current framing of what these technologies are. They don't have intent. And this is something that I tell people to like calm them down. Like I woke up this morning and had a couple meetings. Then were having this awesome conversation. I had a coffee. I went through my email a couple times. Like an AI can't open my email and decide what to do. Right? Like you reached out to me to have a conversation. Can AI do that? Can AI even think to do that? Right? Like so I say that because there's like when you frame it that way, you realize it's actually quite limited. And what I hope it does in a lot of jobs is it sort of takes the process part away so that the actual human element can be really highlighted, like being a primary care doctor, right? There's no way AI can do the job of a primary care doc because the reality is the doctor's biggest role is to make you care about your own health. That's what their job is, right? And AI is not going to be able to do that, but a human could. And if you can allow the doctor to have all the best process automation and have that doctor, I'm talking about primary care docs, have them focus on the patient and helping that patient be healthy themselves, right? And that to me is where this becomes really powerful. And you think about a ton of other fields, right? Like we used to have abacuses and then we had Excel, we had evolution to the computer, right? Like it's not too far from that reality. It can't think on its own.
Yeah.
It needs to be
I
guided.
can give you a really good example. I've started well, I told you earlier, I make films. I have travel films and blah 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 blah, but I do special effects and motion graphics and stuff like that to bring home the point or whatever. I used to have to open up After Effects and spend 3 weeks in it. I'd have to open up 3D Studio Max and spend 4 weeks in it just to do the thing. And I'm a writer. So now I'm learning how to describe everything. And then I'm able to, with the skills that I have in 3D and motion and stuff like that, I can really leverage this stuff because I really, really want to get back to drawing with charcoal and newsprint. I want to get back to doing that.
Exactly.
You know? So again, I'd like to point this out. There was a bunch of illustrators that used to draw pictures for newspapers and magazines, and then the camera came out. And again, Disney used to do hand-drawn animation, and then Pixar came out. I understand that there are environmental things. I'm a bit of an environmentalist. I love my trees. You'll catch me hugging them. I can see the benefit of it. I can see why people are trepidatious, especially when you're talking about tracking people and the phones and they know who's who and the what's and all this other stuff. That's the part that gets me nervous.
That's a problem before. That was a problem before AI, and AI makes it really scary. But I want to, like what you just said about surveillance and even the Patriot Act and how we think about surveilling our own citizens. Like that's a whole conversation that we should voters should care about this because it's happening and it's making it worse.
Yeah. Do we have time to talk about that?
Yeah, so to finish that thread though, you're right. I mean, so my wife I mentioned is an architect. And nothing will ever replace hand drawing for her for the creative process of getting into the right answer. But then there's a point where you need to make a client presentation and show the client all the different ways that something can be seen before it's actually built. And a lot of that is just like hit button go, right? But it used to take so much time, right?
Yeah.
And that can now be sped up. And to her, again, if she can spend more time talking to clients and more time drawing, that's amazing actually, because she'll be a better architect understanding the client needs, and she'll be a better architect creatively if she's able to use all the tooling, but can get to the kind of the mode that is most creatively valuable to her, right? So now we can go through a categories, right? Like there's so many different things here. Like I do like I'm a hopeful guy, and I'm going to do everything in my power and get a bunch of people who are like-minded to do the same to make sure this is safe, to make sure that there's benefit from it, and to make sure that we Americans come on the other side and they're proud of what we've done. And this can be a unifying moment for our country. It has to be because we're so divided, but it's a big thing. And we better have people who are ready to talk about and take on and understand this really, really, really big thing.
I think the understanding of it would be monumental. Because I'm sorry, if you are in your 70s and 80s, and you, back when VCRs used to blink 12 and you used to have to get your kid to fix that, and you're still in Congress, like it might be time. It might be time. And I hate because, I'm getting older. I just turned 54 last weekend. So I understand not having the energy to keep up with these folks. And what folks, the older folks in Congress don't understand is the AI folks, I used to work with those guys. They don't sleep. They don't sleep. There's they have their Monday morning meeting and you work. I've been there. So when you're only working 147 days last year, Congress, I don't know if you have what it takes to like what you were saying. Democracy is that balance between capitalism and doing what's good for the people. And if you're not tapped in the way those guys are tapped in, they're going to run you over.
And it's even worse because what I've learned is that they're not even really ever asked to understand. Yeah. It's the lobbyists who understand, but the lobbyists work for the corporations.
And they know how to sugarcoat everything to make it sound so good.
Exactly. And then they deliver it. They literally deliver the legislation, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me to think about. Like,
There's a
wait,
whole other group that's not part of the
that we don't
government
vote
who
for,
are
that we don't
writing
elect.
these things,
Correct. We don't, correct.
aka Project 2025.
We
Great
don't, we
example.
didn't elect them. Exact. And it's like, wow, like, okay. How is that okay? Why should a lobbyist who pays for your vacations, who buys you dinner, who funds your campaigns, be able to functionally do your job on your behalf? I mean, that's what they're doing. Like they're being like, hey, sit this one out, big guy. Like we're gonna take this. We're gonna take this, right? And you can come back to us when we need your vote. We'll bring you back when we need the vote, right? And it's also why rejecting PAC money is so important because of that. Like now you're going to have to read it.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to read the bill. Like maybe have some input. You don't have a
Did
lobby.
they just
What to do?
did they admit that we don't read bills that are 500 pages long? Then why are you signing it?
It's correct. It's so funny when you often you'll hear the excuse when there's like a second vote or it comes back to the floor. Oh, I didn't read it the first time. It's like okay, really? And for every person who says it, there's obviously 20 people who didn't say it, right? Like that's the thing. It's like, oh, you said the quiet thing out loud. Oh God, yeah. We knew. Now we know. I mean, now we know that you know, and you're a little ashamed of it. But yeah. This is the whole problem. Like we need to fix things. We need to change things. We need to create things. We need to build things.
Yeah.
We don't need parties pointing fingers and BS, just, I mean, not to bring up my opponent, but, he's, in the past 15 years, he's introduced hundreds of bills, hundreds. And he talks about all the things he's introduced.
Yeah.
He's passed 7. And they're all, this 15 years, all ceremonial renamings of post offices and courthouses.
I am so tired of hearing that.
I'm like, I almost prefer you just like focused and like I'm the post office guy. I'm gonna get all the best post offices. Like don't do all the other performative BS up here. Like don't need to fool us. We get it. Just be the post offices guy. But this is the same point is like there's all this other stuff. And then look, and then I'm an outsider. So I often get met with, but you don't know how hard or challenging it is. And like, you're absolutely right. And that's a good thing. Because you need someone as naive as me.
Right.
And as excited and as committed and as like I'm a zealot to make sure this happens, right? Like my kids are on the line.
Yeah.
I'm bringing them into this world actively.
Yeah.
Like they are the AI generation. They will only ever know a world with AI.
Yeah.
We better get this right, and I'm going to be there making sure we do. And you're right. I don't know how hard it's going to be. But maybe taking it in from a different angle and seeing things differently and just being forceful around things that matter will create more and better change and will be better for the American people than just being like, oh, yeah, the system in D.C., it's yes, it's corrupt. Yes, it's rotten. Yes, it's rigged. It is.
Mm-hmm. That's why we can't keep voting for the same people.
Correct. Doing the same thing, and I'm missing this quote, right? It's like if you do the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different result every time, like you're insane, right? Like, like in any other competitive environment, if we were a sports team or a business or we're selling Girl Scout cookies, like we would have swapped over the roster at least a couple times to try something new, because there's an accountability function. Like you're last in the league, right? You lose 100-0, or your business goes bankrupt, or your Girl Scout troop doesn't have enough money for your uniforms because you couldn't sell enough cookies. Like there are repercussions and accountability, and there's consequences, and that makes you adapt.
Yeah.
But in government, you can kind of just sit there.
Yeah.
Say the right
and imagine
things.
having a job for 15 years and you got 7 things done. And really all it was you changed the name on that office and you put in a new name.
Yeah.
It's effectively the same thing.
And look, I will say, like, promote, like, he has a great team that does good local constituent work, that does the kind of the, I would say, the ground game of being in Congress, like the local staff here. But yeah, we also we do send people to Washington to, write laws and to make progress. So
And if it's a PAC that's doing your job, then you're not doing your job. You're cheating on your homework. And that goes for everybody, not just you, Mike Thompson.
yeah, it's everyone. You're bought out, right? And again, it's not. I'm highlighting. I know you've spoken to a bunch of folks, and kind of outsiders, disruptors, like me. Disruption can be a good thing as long as it's done with like kindness and awareness of
Right.
situation. But it's not just my opponent. It's it's everybody, right? It's that's the unfortunate part. Is it really is the system, and it's both sides. So I don't take personal issue with people who are doing the wrong thing, but doing it the only way they kind of know how to do it. Like, that's just, again, sort of the reality of having the same people doing the same job. They will do it the same way after a certain point, right? When you've been doing a job for 50 plus years, you definitely can teach an old dog new tricks. I'm not sure you can teach a 50-year-old dog new tricks, right? Like, it's just that's the reality of it. So.
Yeah. I want to talk real quick about, go back to AI and all the money that's going into it. Because I find it interesting that they would basically go no bumpers on AI, but they don't see the benefit of educating our kids. But when we're going whole hog on AI, spending billions and billions of dollars, how are these companies going to realize all of these investments? Like, what's their focus? Are they trying to take over government with computers? Do they just want to make cool memes? Like, what's their end goal?
So again, this is me talking, and I'm going to give these companies the benefit of the doubt when I describe what I think their intentions are, but also repeat what I said before. At the end of the day, they're corporations, and their goal is to make profit, right? And legally, illegally, or better for them, what they usually do is make the illegal thing legal, right? They warp the system.
They keep doing the illegal thing until someone turns on the light.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Keep the light switch off, or just like eliminate the light switch altogether. Right. Keep defunding the IRS until there's just no one who can even go after you. What we're gonna say. Okay. Claude. Well, so let's go. So Anthropic and OpenAI are the big ones, right? And then so they are different. I really think that how Anthropic positioned itself against with the Trump administration and holding its ground was incredible. And I think that's very important. They are positioning themselves as like the platform to build things. So if you want to code something, build a product, do something more commercially, but that's really where they're known for today. Again, like, everyone's going to go into the comments and say things that I'm wrong. So I'm just giving a really rough. And then OpenAI, I see them as sort of like the Google killer, like what everyone used to Google search as it's sort of kind of the first entree into the internet. I think that ChatGPT is going to be that delivery mechanism for all that information, and will kind of be more productized to the consumer. So those are kind of two different. One's more on the what we call B2B. One's more on the B2C. But they're both, to be clear,
and that's business to business versus business to consumer.
Yeah, that would be the typical. And I'm making really, business to business versus business to consumer. There's also C2C models, consumer to consumer, like marketplaces, eBay, etc. So that's kind of how I see both of them, and so which is why so many of these computer science jobs are being questioned of like how necessary are they now that AI has gotten so good, right? And that's a lot of what Claude has done with Claude Code. And again, a lot of what ChatGPT has done, I think, is really be that you're kind of everything, access to the information, and they charge. Both companies charge subscriptions, and as of today, I don't think they either of them do ads. So right now, they're monetizing principally through premium subscription models, which I do think are better for consumers than ad-based models, because with a subscription model, you don't have an implied consent to give all your data. Like the moment you have an advertising model, regardless of what regulation you put in place, you functionally consented to the idea that you're allowing yourself to be sold things. And if you consent to that, they're going to try to collect your data. Like they're going to try to get better at selling things to you. So I do
They're
like
gonna tell you Clorox is better than blah blah
correct.
blah, whatever.
That's obvious, right? You walked into the mall with all the perfumer people who are, do they still do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. You come out smelling like
They do. There was a place over here on Sonoma Square. They got in trouble for very aggressive
really?
perfuming the
too much
public.
overly perfumed public. The perfume permits didn't come through. So, but anyway, that's the way I see. I see both of them.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a good thing that they're monetizing via consumer subscriptions. Now the downside to that would be they're less accessible, but they currently are offering multiple tiers that are. I mean, the lowest tier is pretty darn good, I think, for what it does, for being free.
Yeah.
So that's good. Now, do I trust these guys? No, because no. Again, we have to eliminate that framing. They are corporations
Yeah.
with the intent of making profit. Yes, they're made of people who can be good or bad and have all sorts of different intentions and beliefs of what the future can hold, totally. But as a structural point, they are corporations. And that's not a bad thing inherently. They just have to be treated as such. And people have to be protected. And resources have to be allocated such that we are still investing in education and communities and all that stuff. So again, I'm trying to temper some of the fear around AI and just give people a little bit of a hug and say it's like we can do this. We can get this right. And I'm encouraged that it took us a bit to figure out that cigarettes are bad for us, to really believe it, it took us for a while they were actually healthy, right? Similarly,
And that's a perfect example for what we were talking about just 2 minutes ago. Like doctors used to get paid to tell you that the cigarette was good for you.
Yep. And then
You don't want that in your AI.
Nope. And social media, right, also took a while for us to be like, yeah, this probably isn't good for us. Definitely not good for kids. Probably not good for adults either. With AI, pretty fast out the gate, people are like, okay, there's going to be some issues here. What are the issues? What are we concerned about? How do we address them? So that's that's good. We got to the sort of question, the problem rather, faster this time. And we're aware of it. And there are leaders in these companies who are building their careers on the idea of safety and want to differentiate. And I believe that there's a way forward to do it. And they're powerful and they're talented and they believe, and I genuinely do believe they believe that. That's great. That's really special. That's good. We're learning. People are learning. Do I think that means automatically we'll be able to create a safe regulatory environment for AI? No. We have to get the right people in place to do it. But I'm encouraged that we are more aware of the potential ramifications in this cycle of disruption, or whatever you want to call it, than prior ones. And that's a good thing. It's a necessary thing because, again, my children will their whole lives only know AI. So we better get it right.
We better. Because, it helps. On the free version of ChatGPT, I have come up with business plans, budgets, and all kinds of stuff for things that I am convinced will help society. Different different training facilities and stuff like that. I have a conversation with AI, and I always joke it's improved my relationship with my friends because I don't reach out to them every time I have a dumbass idea. Now I now I can flesh it out, and I can come out with the proper, documentation, and then I pitch it to them, you know. So it's helpful depending on, where we go with it and how we regulate it and how we control it. Because yeah, we've learned in Iran, is one of the runs that these boys did. I think it was they used AI, and AI didn't recognize the school properly, and so this, you know what I mean. There's those things that are happening that definitely do need to be addressed, and all the Patriot Act and all the surveillance stuff, all that stuff needs to be addressed. And we need folks like you in there, folks that get it, folks that are tapped into their kids. Because this is wild. We
Yeah,
are.
this is the thing that I tell people. Like, I am going to give everything I have to make this right. And if you can believe me for just one reason, it's my kids. And I'm not saying you have to have kids to believe what I believe at all. But for me personally, that was it's really, really, it's like a stake driven deep into my heart and my brain. Like I can't get away. I have to do this. And
Let me ask
for a
you a
lot,
really,
yeah.
let me ask you hopefully a really easy question. Do you want your kids tracked and controlled and debanked?
No, no, I
Just
think
that
we
simple.
not at all. Right? Like I think that now we're getting to you led me to, you asked a really easy question that was very emotional, and now I'm going to give you a technical answer back, right?
Let's do it.
The world that I want from a technology perspective is that every individual controls all of their data, all of it, right? Only them. It's a box,
Yeah.
and then they can open the box.
Yep.
Which you do want to give your data to folks, right? To do different, to make your life easier, to make technology work.
Yeah.
For those of us who are already in the world, the box is, I mean, trying to grab everything out there and put it in the box. Good luck.
Right.
Maybe we can do some of it, but it's going to be
Right.
really hard. Now for our kids. Look, like we can say until 6, you cannot collect any data on them. There is no, they do not exist. I'm making this framework, right? Because obviously they're
Yep.
going to have to use this with technology. They'll have to use things in schools, sign up for accounts, emails, whatever. But I'm using this as an example. Let's keep their box empty until they turn 16. And then you'll have control because you'll be starting from ground zero. And they'll know about how to maintain their own data and security. And that to me is like the conceptual model. Now, this would be hosted, this would be probably on-prem as well. I mean, this would be actually done in a variety of different ways, right? But to me, that is like the framing of how we need to protect people online. And and that way, like all this stuff about surveillance or ads or is my phone listening to me, like you'll know. And it'll be very clear when something's breached because there should be no information about you that exists outside that box. So if there is, someone did something wrong. They collected something they shouldn't have taken, or they've stolen a piece of data. They didn't return the information, so to speak, right? Like there's ways to do this that I think we have to start talking about because if AI agents are kind of maneuvering through the world, we have to be able to protect places and say like right now AI can read basically all of Reddit and most of the internet and most of Google, right? Like, but there are clearly areas where it can't go and its information is hived off. And I believe we should be able to hive off your personal information.
Yeah. And I've had conversations with folks that are very, very scared of AI and their data and all that stuff. And I say, yeah, I understand that it's new, but how cool would it be if I reached out to Eric and I say, Eric, we should get together for lunch sometime I talk to my calendar and I say, find a time for Eric to come and, we can go to El Dorado Kitchen for some
Yeah.
amazing truffle fries.
Yes.
And then my AI contacts your AI and says, all right, boom, this is the time that it fits for both of you. And if there's any coupons, they can email us the coupon. I don't know. I don't know.
But then the beauty of that is I can spend the time with you,
Yeah.
with a real, and again, I'm a hopeful guy.
Yeah.
So the world I hope for is one where, with everything you just said, there's a renewed appreciation for, excuse me, a renewed appreciation for everything else, right? And it can not create noise, but hopefully remove some of the background noise so that you can have lunch with someone in this seamless way and enjoy that experience of two people being together. And in the same way that I hope that anything a human hand touches will be seen as so much more valuable than things only touched by technology. And because that intent of what they drove is what's really critical. And I know we see this in other categories. There's categories in other parts of the world, right? We see this in, we see a return to people wanting that connection and wanting the realness of something that's human and handmade. And whether it's architecture or it's music or it's lunch, right? Or it's making food or growing something or any of the things that can be touched. I hope that we renew the value there because it's so important and it gets us back out into communities and talking to each other and being with each other. And we have so much healing in our country to do around being together.
Yeah.
In the same way that when everything can be replicated online, the stuff that's real should be even more special.
Yeah.
Even though it's maybe exactly the same, it will be different, and it will feel different.
Yeah.
Now we're getting all up here in the clouds, man. Now we're like talking about
This is why Florida hates California because we're getting mushy.
God, we can go. Mushy men who love their moms for president. Come on.
Exactly. Shout out my mom too. I miss you. I
Yeah.
love you. She's
Yeah.
still with us, but she lives in Florida. That's why.
That's why you can take free jabs because your mom. No, it's all. By the way, this has been one of the cooler things about having these long form conversations is you get to stuff that you otherwise wouldn't clearly, and
Right.
you can see kind of who people are, and I think really that's part of this whole thing.
Exactly. I can't get to know Eric Jones and listen you gush over your kids in a 4-minute clip. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Can I? Okay.
I want people to meet you guys and to really understand where you guys are coming from. Because yeah, politicians are human. They're not all evil. They're not all for the big checks. Like there's a lot of you that are trying to make change because it's the right thing to do, not because anyone is paying them to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. And by the way, there's a lot of us, now running, and some of us in office, but a lot of us running, who are living this world today, like today. And the median American, so the middle, right, is the median American age is 39 years old. That means that half of Americans are younger than that, right?
Yeah.
Who's representing them?
Yeah. It's definitely not an 85-year-old.
Right. The 39-year-old is like, I can't talk to these guys. But then there's a lot of people younger than definitionally half. And then a lot of those people who are younger, they're living the real problems of today. They're living I can't find childcare. They're living the why is my healthcare getting so expensive? They're living the utility rates have doubled. They're living the I can't afford a home. I want to have kids. I want to have a family, but I can't afford a home. Do I have to move? I'm stuck here with my job. I'm stuck with my job because my health insurance had to my job. Like they're living that, right? And they're living like, oh, I have a family member in the military who might be deployed, right? They're living that.
Yeah.
And I'm living as a parent, for all the parent shout outs out there, like I thought that after you got your kids out of diapers and they're potty trained that, you were done on that front. I've now learned between potty training and full potty autonomy is like a pretty significant period of time. And it's a geometry problem, right? Like my son's arms are not physically long enough to properly wipe his own butt. He can do a half good job, but not a sufficient job. And he calls me into action pretty frequently to help out. So I say that because for all the parents out there, no one talks about that. That we all kind of like, yeah, potty trained. It's like, oh God. But then there's that the other period, the limbo before full potty autonomy. Sure. And that's the limbo I'm living right now as a parent.
Yeah, and depending on the kids, sometimes those responsibilities never go away.
Yeah. Well, they say at some point, oh man, I remember I had a period of time taking care of my grandparents in a really small home. And my grandfather had a colostomy bag. And the amount of time, which is for those who don't know, is it's basically external bowels or a repository for your bowels externally in your body. So you no longer go to the bathroom the same way. And those things get broken all the time. They come off. And I say all that because I spent a lot of time cleaning up my grandfather's feces, shit, whatever word you want to use. And so it does all come back one day. Like one day the kids and the grandkids are taking care of you. And that's the way it should be.
I wasn't even thinking that deep. I was thinking once you get to 21 and you start drinking too much.
That's the other type. That's the other type.
Country.
You learn from that one pretty quickly. I think you back off and you're like, okay, I now know where my limit is. Based on how my bowels can kind of process. Man, we went places that we probably shouldn't have gone. But the reality is, you got to potty train your kids, and it is a thing, and it's funny, and it's tiring, and most kids learn how to do it eventually. So don't worry too much. But yeah, we got to live in the real world a little bit. We need politicians living in the real world. Like we need, we just need it. I'm excited when I'm there to meet other folks who have young families. Are there other folks who have young families? How many congressionals have young families nowadays? Is that even a thing?
Well, it depends.
Look at it.
It depends on how dirty the man is. Because back in the day, they would have 2-3 different families. You're like,
oh, come on, man.
What?
No, we've cleaned up a little bit since then.
I agree.
Well, I don't know. Actually, I take that back. Look, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. They're all terrible. I mean, there's still more files. I don't know who else is in those remaining files because it seems like they've got everyone. But there's more files. Yeah.
Those files are. I can't even. Just. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's that out there too.
There's that.
There's that out there too. I know you have a meeting. You said at the top of the hour.
I got to hop. But I will say, if you don't mind,
take a couple minutes. Take a couple minutes to just give your final sales pitch and let people know where they can find you online.
Yeah.
And then that way we can wrap up.
Thank you. So www.ericjones.us. EricJones.com was going to cost me $1 million. Didn't seem like a good investment. But .us, which is patriotic. That's also all of our different social handles. It's at ericjones.us. Email me, talk to me, DM me, and look, we hit a lot of the key points, but I am running for office because there's no other country on earth where I could be who I am. And I feel so grateful to this country, to this state, to this community, and every other member of my family has committed their life to service at some point, and this is my time to serve. And I'm doing it now because I believe that if we don't do it now, the direction of travel in our country is bad. It's pretty terrifying. And I see the American dream getting harder and harder and harder to achieve for people every day. And that's what binds us together as a nation. It's the American dream. That idea. Like, we are all different. America is special. We are a multiracial, multicultural democracy defined by the American dream. That's our project. That's why we come here together to do shit. And when you lose that, suddenly the things that connect us start to slip away. And that's why I talk about education. That's why I talk about healthcare. That's why I talk about wealth inequality. Because if we're not supporting the American dream at every step, at every stage, if we're not creating more economic opportunity for the next generation, if we can't promise that the next generation will be better off than the last, if we can't make that promise, we're failing our citizens. And right now, that used to be the truth. That if you put your head down and you worked hard, you would have something to pass on. You would have a better life than the prior generation. You have something to pass on to your kids, something to pass on to your community. And somewhere along the line that stopped. And we have to get it back. We have to invest in that promise. And we do that through education and healthcare and supporting families, making it easier to have kids, making it easier to get people into homes by building housing. And we can do all those things more easily if we can get money out of politics. I'm taking a no PAC pledge. I'm taking a pledge to never trade a stock. I don't own any stocks today. I've got the grandma portfolio. Like, we are, we need people doing this for the right reasons, who will not be bought out, who will not be corrupted, who, have a little bit of, maybe they're naive such that they'll try to accomplish really hard things that no one else wants to accomplish. And then if we have 1,000 people do it, only one of us needs to succeed, right? Like, but we need 1,000 people trying. Yeah. And that's why I'm doing this now, because I have 2 young children. They will grow up in a very different world than I grew up in, and I'm not that old. And I want to make sure that for their generation and people older than them, that we have a future in our country that's bright, and that's what we're talking about. That we're not trying to divide each other or hate each other. We're talking together about how to build a brighter future. Clearly, that's not where we are today. So thank you. And this was a much more casual and fun conversation than many I have. So I appreciate it. And you've got
I appreciate you.
You've got a wonderful way, and I've enjoyed our chat.
Thank you. That means a lot. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I follow you on Instagram, and you're always out there doing something. I promise I'm going to catch up to you on one of your little outings out here. If you're ever coming to Sonoma, please reach out. But you're in Napa, so that's not that far. But I'm impressed by you. And thank you for explaining things to the audience, so they see that it is an important time in history. But if we approach it and we build the right team and we build the right coalition who is going to usher in this new age, I think just that understanding is going to be immensely helpful to just normal people that just want to wake up, take care of the kids, teach the kids how to do potty, and go to work and come home.
Yeah.
And watch the pit. Like,
exactly. You said it. That is, that sounds pretty good.
So thank you so much again. Thank you, Nick. I know you're probably listening somewhere. Thank you, Nick, for helping putting this together.
My team let me fly solo on this one. They must really trust me at this point. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to moms. We cannot shout out enough moms.
Shout out moms.
There you go. Yes. Everywhere. They're leading the world. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. And with that, everybody, we're out.
Coconut tresses.